welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. Christmas was meant to be a season of joy, of family and heartfelt moments, but for me, it was the beginning of a revelation that would shatter my world. Amanda and I had been drifting apart, the distance between us widening with each passing day, yet for the sake of our twin daughters, we played the perfect family. The snow gently blanketed our home in a quiet suburban town as we prepared for our annual Christmas Eve celebration. Amanda was bustling around, her laughter too loud, her smiles too forced as she decorated the living room. Our daughters, Mia and Zoe, were buzzing with excitement, their eyes wide with the magic of the season. "Will Santa really come tonight, Daddy?" Mia asked, tugging at my sleeve. "Of course, darling," I replied, smiling down at her. "Grandpa has a very special surprise planned." I had convinced my grandfather, despite his initial reluctance, to dress as Santa Claus for the girls. He was a robust man with a natural white beard and a twinkle in his eye, perfect for the role. Yet, as the evening drew on, the atmosphere felt increasingly strained. Grandpa arrived, donning the red suit and a hearty ho-ho-ho that brought squeals of delight from Mia and Zoe. Amanda clapped her hands, her eyes briefly meeting mine, a spark of the old warmth passing between us. I wanted to believe we could mend whatever had been broken. The night progressed with presents and laughter, the girls eventually succumbing to sleep, their dreams undoubtedly filled with sugar plums and fairy tales. Amanda kissed them goodnight, whispering promises of more surprises in the morning. With the house quiet, Amanda and I settled in the living room, the dying embers of the fire casting ghostly shadows. "I'll just tidy up a bit," she murmured, heading towards the kitchen. That's when I noticed Grandpa hadn't left, his coat was missing from the pile. Curiosity prickled at the back of my mind. I made my way upstairs, the floorboards creaking underfoot, a sense of unease growing with each step. The light was on in our bedroom. I paused, my hand on the doorknob, my heart pounding in my chest. Laughter, soft and intimate, filtered through the gap. It was Amanda's laugh, but it was wrong, tainted with something unrecognizable. I pushed the door open. The scene before me was grotesque, a betrayal so profound it seemed almost surreal. Grandpa, still clad in his Santa suit, was with Amanda. The shock was a physical blow, my breath stolen from my lungs. "How could you?" The words spilled from me, raw and filled with anguish. Amanda turned, her face ashen, eyes wide with fear. "Tom, But I didn't wait for her excuses. The room spun, a vortex of pain and betrayal. Grandpa stood, adjusting his costume, a look of shame crossing his features. None of it made sense, and yet, the truth was as clear as the Christmas star. I stormed out, the cold night air hitting me like a wave as I left the house. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. I knew then what I had to do. Revenge formed cold and hard within me. I would ruin everything she held dear, just as she had done to me. This Christmas would mark the end of our marriage, and the start of my retribution. As I drove away, the last remnants of my broken heart turned to ice. Amanda had given me a gift, too, one wrapped in deceit and treachery. And I intended to return it tenfold. The night was bitterly cold, the kind that seeped into your bones, mirroring the chill in my heart. I drove aimlessly, the streets deserted, the festive lights a blur through my tear-streaked vision. Anger and sorrow battled within me as the image of Amanda with my grandfather haunted every thought. After hours of driving, I found myself parked outside my best friend, Rick's house. A light was on in the living room. I hesitated, my hand on the car door, battling the impulse to drive away and disappear into the night. But I needed an ally, and Rick was the only one I trusted. I knocked on his door, the sound loud in the quiet of the early morning. Rick answered, his face etched with concern as he took in my disheveled appearance. "Tom, what's happened?" "It's 3 in the morning. It's Amanda, and Grandpa, I managed to choke out, the words tasting like poison on my tongue. Rick led me inside, his hand clapped on my back, a silent support. We sat in his kitchen, a pot of coffee between us, as I recounted the night's horrors. Rick listened, his expression darkening with each word. This is. I don't even know what to say, Tom. That's just. Are you sure about what you saw? Yes, I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I saw them, Rick. There's no doubt in my mind. I need to do something. I can't let this go. Rick nodded, his jaw set. What do you want to do? I want her to pay. I want everyone to know what she did. Revenge? Rick raised an eyebrow, a note of caution in his voice. Justice, I corrected, my determination hardening. She made a fool out of me, out of us. I need to expose her, expose them both. Rick was silent for a moment, weighing his words. If you're sure, I'll help you. But think about the girls. This will hurt them too. I nodded, the thought of Mia and Zoe piercing the anger. I know. But they deserve the truth. I won't let them grow up thinking this is what love looks like. We devised a plan, calculating each step with precision. First, I would confront Amanda, give her a chance to explain herself, though I doubted any explanation would suffice. Then, I would take it public. I had contacts in the local news from my photography work, and Rick was well versed in social media strategies. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over the room, Rick placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. We'll get through this, Tom. One step at a time. I left Rick's house with a plan in place, my resolve steeled. The pain was still there, a constant companion, but now it was accompanied by a sense of purpose. Amanda and my grandfather would not get away with their deceit. The truth would come out, and I would make sure of it. As I drove home, the city slowly waking around me, I prepared myself for the confrontation to come. Today would mark the beginning of the end for our marriage, and possibly the start of my path to healing. The betrayal was deep, but I would not let it define me. Today, I took back control. As the morning light filtered through the curtains, the reality of my situation set in with a heavy weight. My heart raced as I pulled into the driveway, the familiar sight of my home now tainted with betrayal. The house was silent when I entered, a stark contrast to the chaos of my emotions. I found Amanda in the kitchen, her back to me as she made coffee, unaware of the storm about to break. The normalcy of the moment fueled my resolve. Amanda, I said, my voice calm despite the storm inside. She turned, startled. Her face paled when she saw the look in my eyes. Tom, you're back. I didn't hear you come in. How are? We need to talk. I cut her off, unable to bear the small talk. My heart pounded as I prepared for what was to come. What's wrong? Her voice trembled slightly, a crack in her composed facade. I saw you last night. With him. My words were like ice. Amanda's face crumbled, the truth hitting her like a physical blow. Tom, I. Save it, I snapped, the pain turning to anger. How could you? With my grandfather, Amanda. How long has this been going on? It's not what you think, Tom. It was a mistake. I'm so sorry. Tears started to stream down her face, but my heart was hardened against her pleas. A mistake. I scoffed, my voice bitter. You betrayed our family, our daughters. This was no mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. Her voice broke, but I was unmoved. We're done, Amanda. I want a divorce. And I want you to tell the girls why. Amanda gasped, her hands shaking. Please, Tom, don't do this to them. They don't need to know. They deserve the truth, I insisted, the finality in my voice brooking no argument. I need to think, she whispered, defeated. There's nothing to think about. I turned away, the decision cementing in my heart. The next step was to go public. I contacted a friend at the local newspaper, setting up an anonymous tip about a scandal involving a prominent local family. The story would break within hours. Rick helped me craft a series of posts for social media, laying out the betrayal without naming names yet. The hints were enough to start a wildfire of speculation. My phone buzzed non-stop with calls and messages, the town buzzing with the news. As the story spread, the reality of what I was doing hit me. There was no turning back now. I had exposed the betrayal, not just for retribution but as a stark warning to Amanda and anyone else who thought they could deceive without consequence. That evening, as the sun set, I sat alone in the park, the weight of the day's events settling around me. I knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be difficult, especially for Mia and Zoe. But I believed in the end, the truth would bring clarity and, hopefully, healing. The town would be abuzz with gossip and judgment, but at heart, my actions were not about them. They were about setting things right, or as right as they could be under the circumstances. I had taken control of the narrative, steering my life away from the deceit that had almost consumed it. Now, it was up to Amanda to make her next move. The days following the public revelation of Amanda's betrayal were chaotic. The town was abuzz with gossip, everyone eager to piece together the clues of the scandal I had set into motion. I watched from a distance, my heart a mix of vindication and sorrow, as Amanda's image unraveled. In the midst of the storm, I had one more move to make, a final, devastating blow that would ensure Amanda and my grandfather could never hurt anyone again the way they had hurt me. I waited until the weekend, when I knew Amanda would take the girls to her mother's house, seeking refuge from the whispers and stares. I entered the house we once shared, now just a hollow shell of memories and betrayal. Amanda was alone, sitting at the kitchen table, her features haggard. She looked up as I entered, her eyes widening with a mix of fear and resignation. "Tom, what are you?" "I'm here to finish this," I said, my voice cold and steady. I tossed a thick envelope onto the table. It landed with a slap that echoed in the tense air. "What is this?" Her voice was shaky as she reached for the envelope, her hands trembling. "Evidence." "Of everything." I watched as she pulled out photographs, emails, texts, irrefutable proof of her affair that I had meticulously collected over the past weeks. "How did you get this?" Amanda's voice was barely a whisper, her face pale as she sifted through the damning documents. "I had my suspicions for a long time. I just needed proof." I leaned against the doorway, my arms crossed. "You should know, the divorce papers are on their way. Full custody, Amanda. You'll be lucky to get supervised visits after this." "You can't do that. They're my children too." Her voice broke, but I felt no sympathy. "You should have thought of that before." I turned to leave, but not before delivering the final blow. "Oh, and your little rendezvous. It was all recorded. It's going viral as we speak. Your mother, your friends, everyone will know exactly who you are." Amanda collapsed into the chair, her body racked with sobs. I left without a backward glance, the sound of her despair a bitter reminder of the love I once felt. As I drove away, I didn't feel the triumph I had anticipated. There was only a hollow victory. My revenge was complete, but at what cost? The town's reaction was explosive. Amanda became a pariah, her personal and professional life in ruins. My grandfather, too, faced ostracism, his once respected name now a source of scandal. Months passed, and the dust settled. The divorce was finalized, and I gained full custody of Mia and Zoe. We started anew, far from the town that held too many painful memories. My girls adjusted to the new normal, their resilience a balm to my wounded heart. One day, as I watched them play in the garden of our new home, a realization dawned on me. Revenge had consumed me, driven me to actions I once would have condemned. I had become what I despised, a man led by vengeance. In that moment, I vowed to rebuild, not just my life but myself. For my daughters, for the man I wanted to be. Amanda and I never spoke again, our paths forever diverged by the chasm of betrayal and revenge. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the lawn, I knew the hardest journey was still ahead, the journey to forgive myself.